I was tying a silk ribbon around the last envelope when the phone rang. I didn't even glance at the screen. I knew the ringtone Tyler's. My son. I pressed the phone between my shoulder and ear, still smoothing the edge of the ivory card. "Mom," he said flatly, not waiting for pleasantries. Emma and I talked. "You're not invited. You don't belong at our engagement party." The ribbon slipped from my fingers. I waited for him to say more. A joke. A pause. A crack in his voice. Something to make it less real. But there was only silence. "I'm sorry," what I finally managed. "It's not personal," he said quickly, like he'd practiced that line. "It's just, Emma wants a certain vibe. And you, well, you don't exactly fit it." I stared at the RSVP cards in front of me. 76 guests, all hand-calligraphed, all stamped, sealed, and stacked neatly with the envelopes I'd designed and printed myself. I'd paid for everything. The venue, the caterer, the custom wax seals. My name was on every vendor contract. "You mean the party I planned? The one I paid for?" He sighed. "We'll figure it out. Just don't make this about you, okay? It's our moment." I didn't say anything. My hands were trembling. I didn't want him to hear it in my voice. "You still there?" he asked. I hung up without answering. The silence in the room felt thick. My living room table was covered in tiny paper petals. Emma had insisted on them for the inserts. I'd spent 3 hours printing and trimming each one by hand. Now I couldn't even look at them. 3 months of planning. 3 months of pouring myself into something I thought would bring us closer. And now I was uninvited to my own labor. I looked at the stack of invitations again. Then I picked up the ribbon and slowly began to untie each one. It started with a skyline. Tyler had always loved the city at night, said it reminded him of the books I used to read him before bed, the ones with glowing towers and twinkling lights. So when I found the rooftop venue with floor-to-ceiling windows and views stretching over the downtown skyline, I knew it was the one. I didn't ask their opinion. I booked it. From there, it became a quiet mission. Every weekend, every lunch break, every late night, I poured myself into making their engagement party unforgettable. I called the caterer Emma had once gushed over at someone else's wedding, Terrell's Southern Table, and asked if they could do custom shrimp and grits with a mini biscuit bar. I met with the lighting designer twice to balance Edison bulbs with soft overhead lanterns, nothing too rustic, nothing too cold. When the florist gave me options, I chose ivory ranunculus and soft green eucalyptus, thinking it would soften the exposed brick. And I hand-painted all 76 place cards each with a little gold leaf detail and calligraphy swirls to match the invitation design, all without charging a dime. My name was on every contract, every deposit, every email chain. Carlos, the venue manager, only ever called me. So did the decorator, the DJ, the rentals coordinator. I was the point person, the planner, the bank. Emma cried when I showed her the layout sketch. She hugged me, told me it was more beautiful than she imagined. That was just 6 weeks ago. Her eyes welled up with tears and she whispered, "Thank you for making me feel like part of your family." Now I wasn't even on the guest list. I scrolled through my inbox that night, rereading confirmation emails. Each one addressed to me. Each one ending with, "Let us know if you need anything, Ms. Devlin." But no one needed me now. Not the bride, not my son. I closed my laptop slowly, my fingers numb, and turned off the lights. I called David that night, not because I expected him to fix it, but because once long ago, we'd built a family together. Maybe he'd remember what that meant. He picked up on the second ring, his voice casual. "Calla, everything okay? Our son just uninvited me from the engagement party I planned," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He said, "I don't belong." A pause, then a sigh. "Come on, Cal. Don't make this a thing. It's probably just Emma being particular." "Particular," I snapped. I booked the venue. I paid the deposits. I hand-painted the place cards. You always get intense about these things, he said. Just let them have their day. Stirring drama won't help. My throat tightened. I didn't argue. There was no point. Later, while folding laundry, I didn't remember. Washing my phone, buzzed with a message from Kelsey, my daughter. Kelsey, Mom, I know this hurts, but maybe just let Emma have her moment. It's not about you. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not about me. I went back to Facebook out of reflex. Scrolling. Then I saw a post from my sister-in-law, Amber. A photo of champagne flutes lined up on a tasting table. So excited for this weekend. Emma's vision is everything. Can't wait to see it all come to life. Dozens of likes, heart emojis, comments praising Emma's taste. Not a single mention of who found the tasting company, who covered the rental fees, who designed the menu. I clicked on the photo. The wine tags were the ones I made. I'd designed them to match the gold foil on the napkins, but my name wasn't anywhere. Not a tag, not a comment, not a breath of acknowledgement. They'd scrubbed me out, smoothed over the parts I'd poured myself into, rewritten the event without me in it at all. I put my phone down and walked to the kitchen, the silence following close behind. The knock came early the next morning, just as I was making coffee. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Leary, holding a small basket of muffins. Her smile was hesitant, the kind people wear when they don't know if you're breaking or fine. I just wanted to check on you, she said softly. Emma told the ladies' group you weren't well enough to attend the party. Something about your health being unstable. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My hand tightened around the mug until the handle pressed into my palm. Unstable, I repeated quietly. That's what she said. Mrs. Leary shifted, uncomfortable. She probably meant well. You know how things get twisted. I thanked her, took the basket and closed the door before the anger could show. I stood there in the kitchen staring at the counter. Unstable. The word echoed, cutting through everything I'd tried to swallow. They hadn't just erased me. They'd replaced me with a story that made them look kind. Poor Calla, too fragile to come. My hands trembled, but it wasn't from hurt anymore. It was clarity. I opened my laptop-typed flights from Asheville to Honolulu and stared at the options. There was one leaving the same morning as the party. I booked it without hesitation. No announcement, no text, no goodbye. If I wasn't fit to be there, I wouldn't be. Not anywhere near them. That night, I drafted the emails to every vendor, Carlos, Teresa, Brian. I told them I was stepping back due to personal reasons and that Tyler Renslow would now be their primary contact. I kept the tone, polite, professional, final. Within minutes, replies started coming in. Are you sure, Ms. Renslow, your son doesn't have the final design notes? Should we postpone the setup? I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I closed the laptop, slid my phone to silent, and stood at the window watching the streetlight flicker. The decision settled over me like calm water. By morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I sat at my kitchen table, the rising sun casting a pale light across the counter. I opened the folders one by one and calmly attached the final files, layouts, menus, seating charts, even the emergency contact list. I trust you'll do your best with what you've been given, I wrote. My involvement ends here. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I hit send on each email and closed the laptop. That was it. 3 months of work passed off like a briefcase. It didn't feel like surrender. It felt like release. No one from my family reached out that day. No one called to ask where I was, why I wasn't on the group chat, why the spreadsheet had gone quiet. They didn't notice I'd gone silent because they'd never really heard me in the first place. I packed slowly, folding soft cotton dresses and slipping my sandals into the side pocket of my suitcase. I left behind the folder of receipts, The color swatches, the hand-drawn sketches, for centerpieces no one had thanked me for. At 6:40 a.m., I placed my phone on silent, zipped my bag, and stepped outside. The street was still the morning sky, just beginning to break open above Asheville. For a moment, I stood there on the porch, breathing in the quiet. No vendor calls, no frantic texts, no corrections or apologies. Just air. Just space. I locked the door behind me and walked to the waiting car. As we pulled away from the curb, I didn't look back. The storm would come. It just wouldn't be mine to weather. The air was thick with salt and warmth when I stepped off the plane in Oahu. No banners. No guilt. No one asking me to fix anything. I checked into a modest hotel just steps from the shore. Nothing extravagant, but the windows opened wide to the ocean breeze. I kicked off my shoes and walked barefoot across the cool tile floor, the scent of hibiscus and sunscreen drifting in from the hallway. At the cafe next door, I ordered an iced coffee with macadamia milk. The girl at the counter smiled like I was someone worth smiling at. No questions, no pity, just kindness with a straw. Later that afternoon, I wandered into a small Buddhist temple tucked behind rows of palms and flowering trees. The flyer said, "Guided meditation, all welcome." So I walked in. Leilani, the instructor, had a voice like a breeze, steady, warm, unbothered. She led us through breathing exercises under soft bells and silence. When it ended, I lingered behind. She didn't ask why I stayed. "I want to let go," I said. Finally, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't respond right away. She simply nodded, then handed me a small stone from a wooden bowl. "Carry it. When you're ready, leave it at the shore." That evening, I walked the beach as the sky deepened into twilight. Each wave curled in and receded like a breath, and I let the ocean take a little more of my anger with every step. I walked until the lights of the hotel faded behind me, the stone still warm in my palm. When I finally let it go, I didn't watch where it landed. I stood still, empty-handed, with only the sound of the waves around me. And then deep in my bag, muffled by my silent setting, my phone began to vibrate. Once, then again, and again. I didn't reach for it. Not yet. But I knew something back home had shifted, and it wasn't finished with me. By the time the sun rose over Asheville, I was already walking the beach in Oahu, the tide cooling my ankles and the wind pulling my thoughts far from home. But home wasn't quiet. Carlos texted me first. No one confirmed anything. "Your son doesn't even know where the table linens are stored." I didn't answer. At noon, Teresa's voicemail came through, tight-clipped. "Kala, we arrived with the wrong order because no one finalized the menu. Your son said everything was handled. The bride is crying. Guests are complaining." I slipped my phone back into the drawer. Later, I heard from Brian. "The lighting setup is wrong. They told me to just wing it. Half the decor doesn't match. I tried to reach out to your son, but he hasn't responded in hours. Still, I didn't check the notifications." But Tracy did. She called me from Asheville, laughing in that low, stunned way that meant something had truly gone off the rails. "They're falling apart, Cal," she said. "Emma had a breakdown in the bathroom. Guests are posting photos of paper plates and melted candles. One caption says, 'This is the 20K party.'" I listened steady. "Tyler finally realized you were the one holding everything together," she added. "He's texting, begging really." I opened my messages. There it was. "Mom, we need you. Please call. Please." I stared at the screen. 3 months of my life, my energy, my love discarded with one sentence. Now they wanted me back. Not because they missed me, but because it was burning down. I turned off the phone. That night, I watched the stars appear over the Pacific and let the crashing surf drown out everything else. I lay back on the hammock, the sky above me streaked in gold and violet. The breeze tangled through my hair as if it knew how long I'd been holding my breath. The waves came in soft and steady, like a promise. My phone vibrated again on the small table beside me. I turned it over the screen, glowing with a list of missed calls and unread texts. 27. My ex-husband, my sister-in-law, cousins I hadn't heard from in years, even Emma. Please, Calla. It got out of hand. We need to talk. Another message from Tyler. Shorter this time. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. The apology I'd wanted, but not in the way I deserved. Not when it came, only after the photos were posted. The caterer walked out and guests left early in awkward silence. Not when it came too late. I clicked reply. Typed slowly. No anger, no flourish. Just truth. You said I didn't belong, so I didn't. I hit send. Then one by one I blocked them. Tyler, Emma, my ex, my sister-in-law, the cousins. Even the ones who hadn't said a word but stood by in silence. I turned the phone off completely and placed it gently in the drawer of the small nightstand beside my hammock. The sound of the ocean returned uninterrupted. It didn't ask for explanations. It didn't change its rhythm to please anyone. I pulled the soft blanket up to my chest, sank deeper into the hammock's sway, and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I wasn't waiting for anyone to call. 2 weeks later, I stepped through the front door of my Asheville apartment. The air inside was still untouched. My suitcase slid against the floor with a soft thud. No flowers, no cards, no apology, waiting. Just silence. I made coffee and sat by the window, the morning light brushing across the table where I'd once sorted color palettes and linen samples for a party I never attended. Then came the ping of an email. Subject line, "You're going to want to see this." It was from Tracy, a link to an article she'd written for Southern Venue, the region's top event magazine. She hadn't used my name, but I didn't need to read far to recognize the story. Planner erased from her own work walks away, and the internet responds. She'd captured it all with grace and fire: the unpaid labor, the exclusion, the quiet departure. The article didn't drag anyone through the mud. It simply told the truth. Below it, comments flooded in. This broke my heart. I did the same thing with my sister's wedding. Never again. She deserves better, and I hope she knows it now. By noon, my inbox was full. A music nonprofit wanted help with their spring gala. A couple in Brevard needed a planner who understood boundaries. A boutique hotel downtown asked for a consultation on rebranding their private events. 3 new clients in 1 week. Not a single one asked for a discount. Not one tried to tell me who I was allowed to be. I closed my laptop, smiling not from pride, but relief. I hadn't just escaped a toxic moment. I'd walked into something mine, and for the first time in a long while, I was planning again, but this time on my terms. I stood on the rooftop of the Indigo Hotel, the same venue I'd once reserved for Tyler's engagement party. Back then, every corner had been mapped out in my mind for his future, for their celebration. Now it was mine. The breeze carried faint music from the street below, but up here, everything felt still. Clean. I walked the perimeter slowly, clipboard in hand, noting the placement's tables draped in soft cream linens, vintage lighting strung overhead, a delicate blend of floral centerpieces chosen not to impress, but to welcome. This wasn't a wedding. It was a fundraiser for foster youth teens who knew what it felt like to be unchosen. I wanted them to know they were seen, that someone cared enough to get every detail right. I chose the food myself, local, hearty, nothing showy. I coordinated with a jazz trio who played for love, not ego. Every chair was angled to face the skyline because everyone deserved the view. Not a single Marshall was on the guest list. Not Tyler. Not Emma. Not my ex-husband, who once told me not to make a fuss. And yet the room would be full. Of donors, youth advocates, former clients. People who valued what I built without asking me to disappear to make space for someone else. As the sun began to sink behind the cityscape, I stepped to the edge of the rooftop, coffee in hand. The golden light stretched over the tables, catching the glassware and casting long shadows on the stone. This view, once meant for them, was now mine. And the strange part, I didn't miss them. Not their approval, not their apologies, not even their absence. I gave them everything. Then I gave myself the one thing they never did respect.